Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the G20 Techsprint 2022, the final judging event. My name is Wahyu Wiwoho, and it is my great honor to be the host and MC for today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, as you may be aware that central bank digital currency, or CBDC, could play a crucial role in the future of financial system. Based on the 2021 BIS survey of central banks, 9 out of 10 central banks are exploring CBDCs, which have been accelerated by both COVID-19 pandemic and the emergence of cryptocurrencies. To anticipate the technological developments and digitization under the G20 Indonesia Presidency, Bank Indonesia and the Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub launched an international competition, the G20 Techsprint 2022 on April 25th, 2022. Today we have 21 finalists or teams which have been selected from 99 proposals from around the globe. The finalists will pitch their solutions and the judges will explore the project even further by asking questions to the finalists. Finalist solutions can be categorized into 3 different problem statements that are: the first one, implementing effective and robust issuance, distribution, and transference; and the second one, enabling financial inclusion; and the last one, enabling connectivity and interoperability. Before we begin the judging session, let's meet the judges first, and it is my honor to invite to the screen, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the judges of the G20 Techsprint 2022. For the judging criteria, we'll take into account these following things: clarity of solutions, depth of analysis and effective use of technology, creativity and innovation, portability and scalability, ease of use and quality of user experience, and relevance to problem statements. So I'm sure we are all eager to start, and to ensure a smooth and uninterrupted program, allow us to deliver some of the house rules for this event. First, once again, each team has 3 minutes to deliver the pitch and another 5 minutes for Q&A session. If you exceed the time limit, the committee will put you on mute directly, and the judges, please use the raise hand feature to ask questions. To undo it, simply click the same button. And the first judge to click the raise hand feature will automatically be on the first queue. We will go through the questions accordingly. Before we begin, for all finalists and judges to get the full view of the event, please pin Techsprint account to your screen first. Right, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our 3 team. Our 3 team, the time is yours for the 3-minute presentation.
Thank you. So, good morning, afternoon, evening, dear esteemed judges. Thank you so much for having us here. We are very honored and delighted to be presenting to the G20 Techsprint event about our solution. So, very briefly, within 3 minutes, our solution is really focused on the main problem statement 1, which is how do we implement an optimal wholesale or retail CBDC solution across issuance and distribution. We also have opted to address some of the optional problem statements around programmability, as well as privacy with transparency for central banks as well. So to start off, just a recap of our solution, what we have proposed is essentially, at the essence, a decoupling of the issuance of CBDC at the central bank, as well as the distribution layers across the wholesale, domestic, retail, cross-border distribution networks. And in that way, we believe that that's an optimal model for the central bank to issue one single CBDC that can be used across different distribution networks with different governance and access controls with different participants. One of our innovations for our solution really is around the concept of delegated programmability, which we believe is very, very innovative in allowing the private sector to develop innovative use cases on top of CBDCs. So how this works really is that the central bank would govern and come up with a programmability template for the private sector, the distributors of the CBDC, to put in certain constraints on the CBDC, whether it's around access, whether it's around types of payments or recipients of these payments for the CBDC. And thereby we can enable certain use cases, as you can imagine, such as supply chain financing, e-commerce payments, business loans, SME loans, and altogether this can enrich the whole ecosystem with all these innovative use cases. So without further ado, we would like to get to the question and answers. We are very excited to be here. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to the questions from the judges.
Thank you, our three team. All right, and I will let the judges to raise your hand, to click the raise hand button to ask the question. Please, the judges. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Right.
So thank you to the team.
Lyle. Yeah, please.
Yeah, just a question. So how does the CBDC token get ported to existing payments infrastructures? So maybe just some clarity around that. Thanks.
Hello, thank you for that question. I'm Panavi Thakur here, and I'll answer that question. So we are tackling interoperability at 3 different levels. So when we're interoperating with the existing payment systems, which are message-based systems, what we really do is that on the ledger, we actually escrow the token, so we lock it, and we send an equivalent message onto the traditional systems, which are message-based systems, so that the tokens are still escrowed and there's no double spending, but there's a message which goes from your sender bank to the beneficiary bank to say that person A from one bank is actually doing a payment to person B from bank B. So that's one model that we've adopted. Then the second type of interoperability is when we are actually interoperating with another token-based system that is like burn and mend and building bridges between 2 different core ledgers. So that's another one. And the third level of interoperability that we actually do is more with the multiple central banks coming together on a common ledger, which then it's around interoperating with different Quora networks and bringing them together, like we did as part of Project Dunbar, where different central banks came together to do cross-border payments with having individual sovereignty over their own currency.
Right. Thank you for Ms. Lyle. And the next judge to ask the team will be Mr. Chang Chun.
Thank you, Chair. And congrats to the team and a very good comprehensive plan and proposal. And I would like to ask you a question that, for high concurrency or high concurrent use cases, the capacity of your proposal, whether the capacity of your proposal can meet that high concurrency requirements of some retail use cases. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So in order to actually deal with the number or the volume of transactions which are really high in the retail side of the world, the way that we've designed the solution, we decouple the issuance, distribution, and ecosystem in our 3-layer architecture, which means the issuance is only at a central bank level. When it comes to distribution, there can be multiple networks, as Harrison was explaining, and then we want the existing ecosystems of the country to integrate with the core ledger, by which what we are hoping is that with the existing payment instruments, you will be able to carry on with your last mile payments, as well as the only certain data on the ledger. So by that, you will be able to achieve privacy and anonymity, which is required as part of retail transactions, as well be able to increase the volume of retail transaction because the load on the ledger would not be that high.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chang Chun. And the last judge to ask will be from Professor Chin Chuan.
Hi. Yeah, I was wondering how you're going to deal with offline transactions.
Sure. So as we doing it as part of a solution, we really believe that for a vibrant ecosystem, we really have to have multiple different payment service providers and offline payment, basically the last mile payment service providers integrating with the core ledger, which is on Coda. And for that reasons, we are actually partnering with multiple different offline solution providers. One thing that we are actually now working with is like, for example, let's say you are using your debit card and then you're using the existing POS terminal. So the existing POS terminals are pretty robust in terms of handling the offline solutions. So what we do is that using your existing Visa or MasterCard card, you will be able to initiate a transaction, which is a Coda and a ledger-based transaction. And in case the POS terminal is offline, the POS terminal with a little bit of software update, that's what we're working with the PS terminal providers, we will still be able to ensure that that particular transaction goes through. That's there. And otherwise, we also are partnering with different partners like Finalis and IDEMIAs of the world to enable offline solutions. So R3 as a company, we don't do offline. We provide the core ledger, and we are hoping that in every country and jurisdiction, there will be multiple different payment service providers who will be able to integrate the core ledger to provide the last mile payment solutions to the retail users.
Right. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Q&A session is up. Thank you for the R3 team, and thank you for all judges. Finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Once again, thank you. Welcome to the judging session, and our next team will be the MasterCard Asia Pacific team. Yeah, you may begin the presentation.
Great, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for shortlisting our team and our solution. Just to kind of go over our solution, I would like to present our screen. So let me know when you guys can see it. So we've been in the CBDC space for a couple of years now. We shared our solution with the last MAS challenge as well. And what we really bring to you today is something which promotes privacy and trust. It is a permission network which allows a number of people in. It is an interoperable solution which will connect to multiple areas. Regulator friendly. We want to make sure all the regulators have approved our solutions, and comes with all the required security protocols that are needed to support a CBDC adventure. Now, moving along, what we have is this architecture where we feel the customers on the top. We have central banks, we have commercial banks, we've got licensed entities, we've got fintechs. And on the left-hand side, what we've built are payment rails. How would the CBDC solution connect to existing networks? Because a key element of this is adoption, right? So how is it going to connect to our card networks, the existing RTP and faster payment networks? And then the way we set up our local piece is that we've got multiple channels. So we've got the admin portal, we've got APIs and SDKs built in, we've got business logic, and then we've got frameworks that you can build in for all of these pieces. And then on the underlying, we also have a number of smart contracts that we can actually bring in for conditionality and a number of other things that we're working on. So the CBDC architecture looks kind of like this if you break it down. Now you've got the central bank in the middle, and then you've got commercial banks and licensed entities. So depending on how you want to set up your system, you could have your commercial banks participating, or even have licensed wallet providers, which could be non-banks, which are participating in this piece. All of them are looking at a singular global ledger. And then you've got all the pieces which I mentioned before connecting into it. So you've got your faster payment networks, you could have your card networks, you could have a number of different things. Now, what we've built is a two-tier architecture, which allows for the central bank to mint, distribute, and manage the distribution of CBDCs, while the commercial banks, as a private entity, will be the one distributing it directly to the customers and the businesses and maintaining that level of detail. So how it works, the number of use cases that we already have in place is we've got the managed pieces, we've got the distribute CBDC pieces, We've got transactions, which you're able to build in. So these are transacting using your mobile wallet. We've got interoperability already built into our card network. And then we've got all of the other security features as well. So one thing I want, guess it's that time.
And now it's time to let the judges to ask some question to MasterCard team. Please, Please raise your hand, the judges.
Hi, is Iota?
Yeah.
Yes, congratulations to the MasterCard team for this very exciting presentation. My question is about governance, because you're mentioning permissioned, but you're also mentioning hierarchy in terms of the ledgers. Can you elaborate a bit? Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question? The permissioned and... Permissioned,
but then you also mentioned a hierarchy of ledgers.
Yes. So Damien, can you help with the... Damien is our tech lead, so I was figure we can bring him in to the questions.
I'm having could we try to quite a bit of background noise?
So maybe I can start, and maybe Damien can jump in. So primarily what we have is the way we expect this is that the central bank is going to be in the middle. The commercial banks are going to be brought into the network, but then the hierarchy is for the two-tier piece. So literally the central bank continues to be the mint and the distribution channel, while the commercial banks continue to interact with the general public, which are going to use the currency at the end state. So that's how we're kind of envisioning our two-tier architecture. I hope that answers your question. Damien, you want to add anything to it?
Yeah, no, it's quite difficult to show quite a bit of background noise, so I'll leave it for a minute, hopefully.
Maybe we can move on to the next question and come back to it when Damien is having better connectivity.
Right, okay. Right, thank you very much. And the next judge will be Miss Anne Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick one. You mentioned adoption at the beginning. Can you just please expand on user friendliness?
Right. So basically, what we have done is that we've actually tested this with the bank in Bahamas, where we're able to put our card network on top of it. So the ability to actually spend using the MasterCard network. So what we're doing is that you can actually have CBDCs in your wallet and then use a MasterCard card network to connect. We're also in the process of testing our existing faster payment system, which is VocalLink, of how we could potentially incorporate VocalLink into our CBDC channels as well, or any CBDC system that you may choose to implement. Right. What we see is that we are a network which has network rules and franchise rules that we've already tested over the last 50 years. What we want to bring into this place is adoption, where people are continuing to use the same methodology that they use today, rather than having to learn a completely new system.
Judges will be Ms. Annika Kose.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. So my question is really about the implications in terms of monetary operations. So can you explain how the burning and minting, how it would work in terms of synchronization with the central bank balances?
Right. So the way we envision this is obviously the central bank was able to actually, and if I could show you my page, it would be easier, but no matter. The way we envision is that the central bank would actually mint the currency and it would further distribute it out to the commercial banks. Now, the commercial banks would make a request for a central bank digital currency, and that central bank digital currency is moved into the commercial bank accounts. Now, that is further distributed downstream. So that's how we're kind of envisioning that whole flow to run. Right. The central bank also has an audit node that we kind of envision. So that way, if they want to do any kind of auditing on the transactions, they can do that as well.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Annika. And next judge, the final judge for the team of MasterCard will be Mr. Chang Chun.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you and congrats to the team. And I have one question that you have two tiers of ledgers. One is universal ledger and the other one is the ledgers from the second tier of the commercial banks. What if the commercial banks will take a traditional technical architecture instead of DLT architecture? Do you have the plan to, operate with that kind of traditional technical architecture?
Oh, definitely. We don't envision every single bank to move into a DLT infrastructure. I mean, there may be some which continue with their traditional existing rails, right? But we want to make sure it is interoperable. So as a result, we are testing with our existing RTGS systems and a number of other.
Right. Thank you. I apologize once again. The Q&A time is up. Thank you, MasterCard Asia Pacific team, and thank you all the judges. And finally, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Once again, thank you and bye-bye. And our next team will be Dragonfly FinTech team. You may begin the presentation for 3 minutes.
Afternoon and a very good day. We are the Dragonfly team, and my name is Lon Wong. I'm the CEO of Dragonfly. With me today is Nicholas Watson, Executive Director, as well as the person who's heading our FinTech solutions. So without further ado, what we would do is we are not going to have a presentation in anticipation of probably some problems, technical problems. So whatever we have done, we have already submitted it's already in our submittal. And therefore, what I will do now is to quickly run through a summary of what we have actually included in our submittal. So in addressing the 3 problems, we have actually tried to address the main problem, the optional problem statement 1, and the optional problem statement 2. So the main problem statement requires the ability to issue CBDC currency, as well as the ability for us to do wholesale distribution as well as retail distribution. So we have in our submittal demonstrated the issuance with the ability to implement extra policies, money creation, and reserve conversion. This is done through the SDKs and APIs that we have as part of the solution, and that can be easily integrated with common programming software solutions. So we have also demonstrated the ability to work with other systems, meaning interoperable, which is a very important criterion in a CBDC solution, not just interoperable within the local domain or banks, but the ability for us to interoperate with other systems around the world, whether they are blockchain or DLT driven, or whether they are traditionally driven by legacy solutions. We have also demonstrated the wholesale distribution by way of using the same cluster of DLT solution to participating banks. We have, as part of a very important aspect of the CBDC solution, is the ability for us to actually go downstream to be able to do retail distribution. We have included a wallet, a mobile payment wallet or payment solution, which is the first in the world using DLT. First in the world in the sense that it has all the bells and whistles of a typical mobile payment solution, where losing the wallet will not mean that you have lost all your money, as opposed to a typical DLT solution where you lose your wallet, you lose everything.
Right. The time is up. Apologize. Thank you, the Dragonfly FinTech team, and I will let the judges to start to ask the question for the Dragonfly team. Okay, Professor Chin Chuan.
Okay, sorry. Right. Yeah, between the end user, the digital wallet, and the participating institution, this is the account-based owner.
Sorry, I missed your last.
I'm talking. Okay, so let me re-say it. So you have these ledgers between the participating financial institution, then between the end user holding digital wallet. This CBDC is actually passing down to the real wallet, or these are sort of credit expanded wallet, meaning, it's not like a true money being passed along.
I'm trying to understand your question.
It's a second layer. It's basically my question is that account based?
Well, the solution can be account based as well as a token based. So it's a hybrid basically. In order to answer your question, I think I get what you're trying to say. Is that the CBDC is a cluster by itself, held by the central bank, and then it passes on to the retail bank, which has through the wholesale. Which has its own private network. So we have actually declustered it so that multiple banks can have multiple clusters of their own chains so that privacy can be maintained, as well as the ability for the bank to choose whether it's account-based or whether it's token-based.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Professor Chin Chuan. And the next judge will be Chief Mohanty.
Hi, a very simple question. Why do we need DLT for a wallet? If you are distributing using a wallet or a CBDC, what purpose and what value it serves?
Well, the wallet is basically a physical layer that separates the central bank CBDC as opposed to the passing it, because the design is made for what we call decentralized distributed retail distribution, which means that it allows for, it emulates the internet network whereby you can have a lot of transactions happening concurrently in a nation like Indonesia. If the design is not, it's basically a part of the design where you can have multiple, high volume transactions in the entire network of the CBDC, as opposed to centralizing a decentralized technology, passing the CBDC directly to the wallet. So in answering your question, basically is how we actually frame the entire thing for high concurrency and high payment volumes.
Right.
So we have actually, yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. We'll move to the next judge. Will be Ms. Anneke.
Thank you. So my question is about the portability of this solution. So if I understand it correctly, it allows for an integration with the specific local digital identity system. So here I wonder, what would it take for it to be also be integrated with other foreign digital identity systems, and especially when it's used in a cross-border context?
The design of our solution is based on a typical multi-tier solution whereby or web technology of the old. But of course, we have adapted it to the blockchain, which means it's highly interoperable, and you can actually easily integrate because we are talking on a common platform where SDKs and APIs conform to traditional integration methods, which means it is agnostic to whether another system is blockchain or not. So in other words, whether it's domestic or international integration, it doesn't matter. It's just agnostic. It doesn't care.
Right. Okay. Right. Thank you. I think we don't have enough time to continue the Q&A session, so the time is up. Thank you once again, Team Dragonfly.
Thank you very much.
Team, and thank you all the judges. And for the finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you. And our next team, please welcome CBDC New Idea. You may begin the presentation for the CBDC New Idea.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So we are a CBDC New Idea team. We want to present the CBDC payment gateway for our solution to enable connectivity. So enabling connectivity and interoperability is a challenge for any technology. Our solution not only provides connectivity among CBDC stakeholders, but also fix all national and international problem, which is cost of settlements.
Okay, I think we have we lost a connection, and we still have two other members of the team of CBDC. Yep, you can continue the presentation. You still have 2 minutes. Other team from CBDC?
Yes, sir. Apologies for the connection, but the Andiko is the one who presentation.
Okay, so do you want to continue the presentation? The time is ticking, the clock is ticking. You still have another 1 minute to give the presentation to all the judges.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost connection, so I will continue. So our solution enable interconnectivity with existing domestic payment rails, with e-money, the financial market infrastructure using the national API standard, and CBDC payment gateway pipeline to facilitate all existing infrastructure to be able to be integrated with CBDC platform. So we use smart contract for the integration with the distributed ledger technology, which are secure, fast, and easy to implement. So for the solution for link up CBDC platform to enable cross-border payment, we use international API-based standard. So it will be established with the G2G to use a single rule book and establish international API-based standard to be implemented in both countries with CBDC payment gateway. So several advantages with the CBDC.
Okay, CBDC team, the time is up. I apologize. I need to cut it off. Thank you. And I will start to the Q&A session. And the judges, you may raise your hand to ask the question.
Can I suggest, because we didn't see anything here, it is unfair to make any comment because hardly we saw what they're presenting.
Excuse me, can you repeat the question?
We did not see anything. The guy could only present for 1 minute, so very hard to ask question based on a one-page slide.
Oh, okay. If any other judges still have another question to ask for the team, I know it is a very short time because the connection, but I think we still, yes, Miss Iota.
Yes, thank you very much to the New Idea team, and well done for something that is different and looks into the cost consideration, which is important. The question is, do you also have anything incorporated in your model around privacy issues?
Yes. So for the regulation compliance, we use KYC, so know your customer for the privacy issue. For the cross-border payment, the CBDC platform will be interconnected with the country partner, which will enable to send customers data, which will be able to be used to create an international transaction to be compliant with the Know Your Customer regulation.
Is that enough, Ms. Iota? Okay, thank you. The next judge will be Ms. Fortune.
Thank you very much for your entry. That was really interesting. I was wondering what you saw the advantages over the existing systems are, where some of the challenges are things like KYC, whether you had some addition, what created it difference from the current system?
Yeah, so for the current system, all the cross-border payment will have an intermediary. So our solution is to eliminate the intermediary and we'll use the CBDC platform interconnection between a country partner central bank to be able to create international transaction amongst banks and also retail customers. So we don't need foreign overseas partner to create a cross-border payment for the settlement system. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any other question from the judges?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
You know, once you eliminate intermediaries, sometimes you rely on intermediary to give you reference prices, right? Yeah. For international transaction like exchange rates and so forth. And why is that an advantage by getting rid of intermediaries?
Yeah, because the central bank are interconnected one another, so we can use the central bank pipeline to settle and create the settlement for the cross-border payment. So we don't need third party intermediaries to to provide the settlement for the cross-border transaction.
The mechanically settlement does not need it, but I'm talking about reference prices. You will, for instance, we rely on the exchange market to determine what's the exchange rate, right?
Yeah, we still use the exchange rate for the cross-border exchange for the currency. Yeah, we still use that is the only third party use, but we don't use the third party to create the settlement, so we can reduce the settlement cost.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I think we need to wrap up for this session. Thank you once again for the CBDC new idea, and thank you all the judges. Finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Once again, thank you. Bye-bye. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome our next team, Free Flow Finance team. Finalists, over to you.
So thank you very much for being here. We are honored to be part of the G20 Techsprint. Our company, Free Flow Finance, is really focused on technology interoperability to allow digital currencies to be able to transact across different IT systems, across different payment networks, across last mile ecosystems, right? So what we've done is created a universal payment API that allows us to be able to combine integrated functionality with digital wallet functionality, to be able to create accounts, all the clearing and settlement stuff, all the reg tech solutions so that we can actually do things in a compliant manner, and even integrate FX functionality into a universal API. And what that allows us to do is then be able to connect to last mile ecosystems around the world, whether that's a digital wallet, or a payment rail, or a super app. You know, we're a B2B2C company that allows us to be able to connect to any and all of these. So what we can do is provide two levels of payment and CBDC interoperability. At the deeper level, CBDCs are being deployed on different IT systems, different blockchains, right? Corda, Hyperledger, Stellar, Avalanche, there's a whole bunch of them, right? Right now they don't talk to each other, and now we have a retail enterprise-grade solution that can connect at that level to do clearing and settlement across these systems. Today, what we're trying to demonstrate is more of a payment interoperability. So at the payment layer, we're able to connect different digital wallets across different ecosystems and provide payment functionality toward the end. So for the demo for G20, we've demonstrated this in a cross-jurisdictional way. On one side with a digital wallet such as Alipay, which would represent, for example, a digital CBDC wallet on the China side, and then with PayPal on the other side, which is would represent either a stable coin or eventually the digital dollar on the other side. And we can demonstrate full end-to-end transactional netting, clearing and settlements, and even FX functionality to exchange these digital assets across these ecosystems. Thank you very much.
Right, you still have another 40 seconds. All right.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, so in general, our technology stack has been built to be very institutional grade. So we have a very tech de-risk stack. Our infrastructure provider and partners are the ones who actually built the Cosmos ecosystem. And so because of this, there's a general ability to connect across blockchains. So we're already connected to Hyperledger, Corda, Clayton, Ethereum, and it's very easy for us to connect to other networks because we are basically focused on blockchain interoperability. So we have a strong platform to be able to provide different levels of interoperability with different systems.
Right. Thank you. Free Flow Finance team, your pitch time is up. And I will now begin the Q&A session. The judges, please raise your hand. And I think, yeah, the first judge will be Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Michael, what is the timeline to be able to develop and launch this platform?
It's already launched, meaning we already have a commercially scalable, and the infrastructure baseline that we've done has been fully implemented. In some cases, is already being used by governments for their different applications. So what we've done is taken that baseline interoperability capability. Again, it's kind of a Cosmos-based system, but essentially we've created, it's kind of like Linux and Red Hat, right? There's an open source movement in Cosmos, and then there's a sort of enterprise-grade version, and we're taking that basic infrastructure and developing our payment solutions on top. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. And the next one will be Mr. Natarajan.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations to the free flow finance team. So my question is, you talked about kind of your solution being essentially about the APIs and API packages. So what are the underlying kind of systems and institutions which will be operating it, and how do you think you will comply with some of the existing standards in this area?
Okay, I'll let my chief scientist talk about that on the payment interoperability. So David, would you like to answer this question?
So what Michael mentioned was the backend, the infrastructure where we have deployed some of the applications. So one of the applications is to link existing wallets, which means PayPal wallets or Alipay wallets that are already existing, because there is no actual functioning CBDC in operating mode. I mean, in China, even in China, it's still in piloting. So this is what we have been testing for this particular infrastructure, the API. So we use the API. So we picked some payment rails in 2 countries. So we have successfully run this, it's actually tourism application. So we fully end-to-end tested it. In terms of compliance, the compliance part in terms of the payment third party is not on our platform. So in terms of the settlement, we're also using, it's more like a trade finance, because what we did was a group of tourism, they have US dollars, and then what we did was the tourist company in China, they would do a net settlement between what we call the trade finance, because this is what these companies need to purchase certain things in advance. And in this case, we are following the standard bank. You could call it letter of credit, but it's a trade finance type of foreign exchange settlement. And in terms of payment, we're using existing wallet, not a bank accounts, but existing wallet, which they have their own compliance met. So we don't create any financial, we're the bridge. So we're not the financial operators in this particular situation. We're building the infrastructure, the highway, so to speak. We don't actually have liquidity and all of those risks that are associated with where the the regulators would look into for this particular application.
Yeah, maybe to answer more specifically your question, our basic interoperability is based off of the Cosmos ecosystem. So we have a government team which is providing the baseline infrastructure, and then we have a payment infrastructure on top called SisaNet with a network of partners that allows us to plug into traditional payment rails and systems through integration.
Right. Thank you for the time for the free flow finance team. Thank you very much once again. As our Q&A time is up, thank you, all the judges. And finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. And thank you. Hello again to the judging session. Our next team will be Persia team. I think you need to unmute yourself.
Hi, the share function is disabled. Oh, okay, it's enabled now.
Okay.
Hi everyone, happy to be here today. I'm Angela and I'm one of the Techsprint team members. So today we are here to talk about our solution's unique value proposition. But before we do that, we want to give a quick overview of who we are. So Partior is a global blockchain network for interbank clearing and settlement. We were founded last year by JP Morgan, DBS Bank, and Temasek. But before that, our true beginning was actually in MAS's Project Ubin, which means that we have been designed from inception to integrate commercial bank money and CBDC. And today we remain active in the CBDC space as a technology partner for Project Dunbar, the MAS Global CBDC Challenge, and today in the Techsprint. Our network is already in production and is able to support multi-currency real-time settlement in commercial bank money. So going to the value proposition of our solution, to address the main problem statement, we have created a highly efficient and scalable network that is able to support thousands of transactions and participants, but has a decentralized architecture to enable individual central banks to exercise federated governance and meet their own regulatory and monetary policy approaches. From a security standpoint, we use permission blockchain technology, which is highly secure. To address optional problem statement 1, we have directly integrated with the RTGS system, which is important because it enables liquidity pooling across the RTGS, which is banks' main source of central bank liquidity today, and the fledgling CBDC network. This solves the main problem for CBDC adoption by taking a phased approach. To address optional problem statement 2, we enable direct integration with tokenized digital asset and currency networks. And we also leverage HTLC to ensure secure, risk-free, real-time DVP and PVP settlement. Finally, we enable global multi-protocol, multi-asset network bridges, which achieves multiple settlement objectives while avoiding expensive bilateral links.
Right. Parashar, your time is up. I apologize to interrupt, and I will move to the judges' time.
Yeah.
Right. The first one will be, please, your hands. The judges. Still waiting. All right, Ms. Fortune.
Thank you very much for that very nice, clear presentation. I see that you've got it connected to local RTGS systems. And I was wondering if you see value in connecting it to other payment systems, the sort of faster payment systems that many countries have.
Yes, absolutely. So part of our initial solution included providing settlement for BIS Nexus, which is obviously a real-time interconnectivity architecture. So that's very much part of the modeling and thinking that we've done as well.
Right. Thank you. Next judge will be Ms. Anneke Koos.
Thank you, Chair, and also thank you to the team for the great presentation and information. So one of the things I really found helpful reading was the estimate of the transaction throughput of your solution. And so related to this, I was wondering, do you also have, can you say anything about the speed and the cost of the transactions and how that would compare, how that does compare to traditional payment infrastructures?
Yeah, so one of the biggest cost elements of cross-border payment transactions is liquidity, cost of liquidity. So again, automated market making and new models for liquidity. We have modeled and we have a working concept to actually provide that in a commercial bank setting. And so we think that's probably one of the ways that we can drastically reduce the cost of cross-border transaction processing on the network.
Thank you. The next one will be Ms. Lyle Horsley.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the team for a great presentation. Just a question around the various connections that are part of the solution for enhanced interoperability. So there's the domain connectors and the CSD connectors and so forth. Are those under the control of the participants in the network, or are they under the control of the central bank issuing the CBDC?
So they're in control of the central bank issuing the CBDC.
Still have another time. Any other question from the judges?
Yeah, I got a question. And it seems to me, even without CBDC, this system can still work with the current currency, electronic money, right? Right?
That's exactly right.
So what's the role of a CBDC here?
CBDC, we would define as not necessarily being a token-based money, but also a digital account. So what we've envisaged will actually support token-based and account-based issuance, and won't be necessarily limited to one or the other. So, absolutely, without the introduction of a token-based central bank digital currency, what we've proposed actually would be fully compatible with current RTGSs and transaction processing.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, just to add to that, I'm Jason, I'm the CEO of the company. I think CBDC becomes important when you're looking at market makers and you're settling between settlement bank ecosystems. So it still plays a pivotal role on global transaction and the speed of transactions. So we see today we're clearing across ecosystems of settlement banks, but CDBC becomes more pivotal when we're clearing between settlement banks. So we see it as an additional layer and important to the ecosystem.
Okay.
Right. Any other question? Professor Kim Chuan? We still another time? Right. Okay. Right. Thank you. Thank you once again for the Persia team. Right. Okay. Thank you once again for the Persia team. Or maybe you still have some time left on the clock to answer the question from the judges or deliver your closing statements.
Yeah, I guess we can probably add one more point, like to the question around cost and speed of transaction processing. So one of the problems that needs to be addressed in that space is Nostro account pre-funding. Which obviously banks need to fund their cross-currency accounts, and the cost of that funding is roughly around 60% of the cost of cross-border transaction processing, according to McKinsey's research. So that's how we think we can drastically reduce the cost of cross-border.
Right, time is up. Thank you, Persia team, and thank you for all the judges. Finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Welcome for our next team, Dana X School. Presentation starts now.
Okay, let me share screen. Hello guys, can you hear me now? Okay, let me start. Yeah. So this is our summary for our solution for CBDC G20 Techsprint. The summary is we provide single apps, Bank Indonesia apps, for faster adoption for CBDC in Indonesia. We have like 250 million users. And we believe that we're gonna need one single app for this one, which the single apps user can do 7 basic feature like register login, KYC, asset management, when user can manage multiple assets in one apps, top up, send and receive money, user can send money to phone number, single sign-on management, and offline payment queries. These apps only bring basic feature. So if user want to have more advanced feature, like they want interest in the money or any other advanced feature, they can still use another apps. So it's not going to be a monopoly, and the market still can be there. And this app's going to solve CBDC's adoption challenge. There's 2 CBDC adoption challenges that we thought. The first one is the bank challenge by no need physical branch for KYC verification, and also crypto challenge. User no need to remember the key and blockchain address because they can send money to the phone number. Okay, so this is the simple way how to explain our solution. The first one, user can come to the apps as a non-KYC user, and they can have an address for non-KYC with certain limitation. After that, a user can KYC and then they can get new address. After they KYC, they can open address in another apps or another financial apps like Bank Mandiri, Bank BCA, or even Dana. And then after that one, the example, they want to send money to another user, they can send using phone number. And so we believe that we should bring a multi-signature concept into the CBDC. So there's different of key owner here. And every key owner gonna check the rules and check the proxies. Do this user is already KYC so they can send money? Do the user are freeze or not? And they will also check the proxies for the receiver. Is this main address for the receiver money? Is this the receiver money address is not freeze and such? And then after the key owner validate the two things of chain, they can sign the transaction together, the key owner 1, key owner 2, and key owner 3. We use 2 out of 3 multi-sig signature for this one. And after the all key owner signing, they can send the transaction to the nodes operator, which we use only one single nodes writer in our concept, and the receiver will gonna have the money. So that's the simple explanation of our solution. Yeah, I think we're almost 3 minutes. So yeah, that's the whole concept of our solution. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dana Exco team. Let's begin the Q&A session. And for the judges, please raise your hands. The first one will be Miss. Yeah, all right. We're still waiting for the judges to raise your hands, please.
Thank you very much, team. Lots of thinking. It was really nicely laid out in your paper. I was wondering, there was a bit of a tension there between the need for privacy for individuals and the ability to use it to monitor transactions, maybe collect tax. And I wondered if you had some thoughts about that trade-off between those two.
Sorry, can you repeat the question a bit?
Yes, sorry. I thought there was a trade-off in your paper between wanting to use it to monitor transactions, CBDC, and allowing users individual privacy. And I wondered if you had thoughts about that trade-off or whether the technology could solve that.
Yeah. So in terms of, I think the trade-off is between the privacy and the monitoring, right? So in our concept, that's why we built the multi-sig signature. So user can still have the owner, and no one has the absolute control to moving the coins, to moving the money. So that's why we have the multi-sig signature. But in on-chain, every transaction happen on-chain, and the information of the identity is happen off-chain. So the monitoring can still happen. So we try to balance the trade-off between the ownership of the money, the coin with multi-sig signature, and then with the KYC verification, and then the identification that happen off-chain, that the information is shared between the key owners. That's the answer. Thank you.
Right, thank you. The next judge will be Ms. Kose.
Thank you very much. Thanks also to the team. So my question is, maybe it's more of a clarification question, but I understood from the documentation that the solution runs without intermediaries. So when reading that, I was wondering how do you foresee like the distribution? How would it be distributed to users, the CBDC, without intermediaries?
What do you mean by intermediaries?
That's basically what I was wondering when I read that. It said the distribution. Would the central bank do it on their own, or would it be done via commercial banks or local agents?
I think I understand your point. So user can register to the apps of the bank central, and they can register as a non-KYC, and then later on they can do the KYC, right? After the KYC, they can still open the account in banks. So let's say they want to account in Bank Mandiri, they want to open in Bank Indonesia, and they can get a different address for that one. So yeah, so in terms of intermediaries, I think inside the Bank Central apps, there's no intermediaries, but we still allow user to open the account in other financial application. So we don't kill the competition there. So yeah, hope I answered your question.
Right, thank you, Ms. Kose. And the next one will be from Prof. Chinchuan.
Yeah, my question is, you mentioned everything, it's a transaction is done on chain. Yeah, and what's the capacity of this? I assume in, say, Indonesia, so many, huge population.
Yeah, correct.
How are you supposed to handle that?
So let me show you this. So I think what our concept is, we only use a single node writer, right? So the capacity, it doesn't matter if only one single node writer, if only one source of truth that matters. So no competition between who can write on the ledger. So the capacity itself, it should be fine. In Dana, right now, we can handle like almost like 13 million transactions per day. So and yeah, we're not that big also in Indonesia, but if we cater, I think that the maximum capacity doesn't really matter. What matters is who write on the ledger. As long as only single writer on the ledger, I think the capacity should be no issue.
Yeah, but with that system, it look like an old centralized system, right? Even you call it a ledger, but it's centralized.
Correct. It's not really centralized because we use the cryptocurrency concepts, right? In terms of blockchain, the data cannot be tampered, and also the crypto. So we give the owner, the key owner, to even to the user as well. So we still control, but it's not that really centralized because if you want to sign the transaction, you need still multi-sig signature. Only the writer can do censorship, right? That's why, yeah, only one single nodes writer. There's a trade-off between fast and monitoring. Because only one single node that they can do the monitoring, which is the bank central, and we can deliver it fast.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for the Dana X-School team for the presentation and for joining the Q&A session. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's an honor for us.
Right. All right. All right. Okay. Right. Thank you once again for the Dana X-School team, and thank you for the judges and the finalists. In a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you. Bye-bye. And the next team will be Blockchain Nepal Foundation. The finalists, the screen is yours.
So greetings to all the judges from the whole Blockchain Nepal Foundation. As a part of G20 Techsprint, our project is built to solve the Category 2 problem statement, financial inclusion. So the project name is PAMS, Public Allowance Management System, which is a blockchain-based project which is focused on distributing, monitoring, and managing retail CBDC to unbanked using a low-tech devices for public allowance program. So the application has been forked from DPGA registered open source project Rahat, which is currently in use for the relief distribution in Nepal. We have an end-to-end system to manage the allowance program and online dashboard for local government to create, manage, and track the status of allowance program. And we have a vendor wallet, PAMS vendor wallet, for which vendors and beneficiary will have their transaction in between. So basically, beneficiaries can buy or use their issued retail CBDC that has been issued to their phone by using this vendor wallet. So the beneficiaries will receive a text message about their allowance and the OTP will be there to verify the transaction. So talking about the process in our application. So basically local government will use online dashboard where they can create and set up the program and add beneficiaries with their mobile phone, and beneficiary will get their notification in their phone about the distribution. So basically beneficiary will only have to use a simple phone for the transaction, and there will be vendor who will be using the vendor wallet to transfer the beneficiaries retail CBDC in their vendor wallet. All these transactions are stored in blockchain for the secure transaction. So to make our system more robust, in the future we can create our own blockchain network and use network token as central bank digital currency. We can also use we can also implement USSD for beneficiaries for easier balance tracking and uses and low-tech connectivity. And the final one is we can implement a decentralized identifiers to secure the PII information of the users. So to conclude, our PAMS application uses low-tech and cheaper infrastructure text message, that is text message for the transaction that will be used by beneficiaries, and the PAMS targets.
Right. Time's up. Thank you, Blockchain Nepal Foundation. And let's start the Q&A session. Yeah. Please raise your hands. Miss Yota.
Thank you, and congratulations to the team for this meaningful application. So I see that going forward, you are foreseeing having something with decentralized identity, but for the time being, is it only with the OTP that the actual beneficiary goes and redeems, or does he also need to show any kind of ID verification to the vendor?
So, thank you for the question. So first of all, yes, for now, the mobile phone would have to be registered. It would be a unique identifier. They will receive OTP in their registered mobile phone. So right now, to register the mobile phone, it needs to be verified with certain like identity documents for now. But in future, we do want to preserve privacy. We do want to go into DIDs, and verifiable credentials would be something that we are looking into the future. Thank you for that.
Right,
I hope
thank
that
you.
answers the question.
Yeah. The next one will be Miss Wilson and Miss Pia Tayak.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for all the work your team's been doing. It's not quite clear to me why a CBDC would be essential to this project. I know other solutions exist that can transfer cash directly. Can you just explain or elaborate a little bit more on that? Thank you.
So yes, so there are other tools as well. So for us right now, what we are using is blockchain technology as a digital ledger to maintain the transactions. And the tools that we're using right now works in a low tech areas or infrastructure, especially with the mobile phones that we are targeting. And we also have used digital vouchers to give vouchers as well. So for now, what we are targeting is not rebuilding, but we're trying to integrate our open source system. This is an open source system. So we're trying to integrate with other open source tools as well. So one of the things that we are planning to do is integrate with tools like Kobo tools, which can be used in fields by various humanitarian agencies, but we can integrate with those tools. That's the plan. So we are trying to make this toolpath very integratable with other third-party tools, and it's an open source. You want to add something?
Yeah. In addition to that, what I would like to add is the benefit that PAMS gives is we can automate the allowance program actually, right? So besides integration of the smart contract, we can actually automate the disbursement of these retail CBDC tokens. So that's why I think that adds the values to this project.
The project management tool as well. Yeah.
Right, thank you. And the next one from Miss Pia Tayak.
Yes, thank you, and for sharing your solution. And my question is actually related to the earlier one on really the value add from existing instruments of government-to-person payments, where we have these same functionalities that could operate at low-tech environments, but also provide, good dashboard to manage these payments.
Yes.
But I think, you answered that. I guess a related question there is, how do we now encourage choice on the part of customers into how they receive these payments, because that is actually linked to also their ability to choose a financial institution, for example, where after getting the payments they can access other services. So how does this solution now integrate with other providers that could, apart from receiving the allowances, build on designing other products and services for the recipients?
Okay, that's a great part. What we are doing right now is it's not in our system. It's not only the distribution of cash right now. What our system is also doing is we also have a vendor app, a merchant app, which can actually beneficiaries, they can go to these vendors who are using the app and avail the services or product that they are using. And then the other thing, yes, we are focusing on making it integratable with other financial service providers. That's something that we are looking into. But for this prototype, we are focused more on distribution and management of the cash. And integration is something that we'll be looking into the future.
Right, you still have another 10 minutes. Maybe you will deliver your closing statement.
So I think tools like these kind of tools needs to be open source and should be used by various organizations and does not have any.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Time is up. Thank you. Blockchain.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for the judges. Finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. And once again, thank you. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next team, G&D Filia. Team, over to you. 3 minutes.
Thank you for joining us today in this session, where I will briefly explain how our GND Filia solution addresses the problem statements in Category B financial inclusion, with the focus on offline payments. But first, let me give a recap how our CBDC solution works. In our model, monetary value is represented as a token. Compared to a more traditional account-based model, token-based CBDC ensures a higher degree of privacy because it does not conflate information about ownership and information about authenticity. It also allows for consecutive offline payments, where tokens are simply passed from one device to another. Together with strong hardware security that protects against tampering, we can easily prevent double spending. We designed our tokens to be similar to physical cash, but instead of being a physical object, a token is a piece of data where knowledge represents ownership. If I am aware of the private key of a token, I am able to spend it. Here, spending just means transferring the private key over any channel, such as NFC, Bluetooth, or Wi-Fi. Similarly to the security features of cash, our tokens have a digital fingerprint that can be used by participants to check authenticity. The key ingredient to trustworthy offline payments is secure hardware. These hardware wallets can come in many form factors, such as low-cost smart cards, wearables, or smartphones. All these devices share a common trait. They are equipped with a secure element, an embedded mini-computer that features storage and processing units, especially designed to prevent unauthorized interference or eavesdropping. In these secure elements, we can safely store digital tokens which are processed according to the Filia protocol. Attackers have no opportunity to extract or manipulate the tokens. When an offline payment happens, the two wallets first establish a secure encrypted connection over an untrusted channel, depending on what's available for those device types, for example, NFC or Bluetooth. Once the channel has been established, both participants can exchange tokens, and they can be certain that the other party uses a genuine wallet. On top of offering a variety of different wallet types, Filia also caters for a range of distribution channels. For example, hardware-based wallets can be issued through commercial banks or directly from the government to citizens. We also support tight integration into mobile money networks, leveraging existing infrastructure, especially useful in emerging economies. This applies equally to users spending money and merchants receiving money. We envision an ecosystem where many market players, including commercial banks, fintechs, startups, and merchants, can play an important role in distribution of money for the digital economy. To summarize, Filia achieves one of its primary goals, that is financial inclusion, with three aspects. First, the capability of secure and consecutive offline payments, thereby not relying on continuous internet connectivity. Second, a private by design approach that protects privacy of honest users while also enabling regulatory compliance. Third, a diverse range of wallets, both online and offline, and distribution channels through established infrastructure. Thank you.
Right, thank you, GND Filia. Your pitch time is up, and from now on the Q&A session, we will accommodate 3 questions at a time, and afterwards the finalist is welcome to answer the question from the 3 judges. Right, we're still waiting for the judges to raise their hands, please, the judges. Right, all right, Miss Fortune and Mr. Natarajan. And the last one will be Director Mu.
Team, thanks very much for this. Interesting to see. I was wondering whether you'd given any thought to onboarding customers, because for inclusion, some of these devices seem like they might not be the cheapest devices, given the secure hardware in there.
Right.
Yes, thank you for the question. So we have various varieties of wallets. So one possibility, as you've seen also before, is such a card, for instance, that could be used, which is a very low-cost device, and that can be handed out either by, for instance, mobile money agents. It can be handed out by banks. And depending on the KYC requirements that you have in the country, it can be linked to an identity, or it could even not be linked to an identity, and then it would only be with a limited period of time. Other options, for instance, for agents or merchants, would be to have a wallet that is stored on their smartphone, or that accesses a backend wallet. So for them, they would not even need an additional device, but they could just use the devices that they already have. We also thought about integration of feature phones, where you could basically access a wallet via USSD codes. So that's a third option.
Right, thank you, Ms. Fortune. The next one from Mr. Natarajan and Director Mu.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the team for the proposal. Two very quick questions. One is you talked about the cost from the user side, but what about the cost on the merchant side? And then secondly, from the way you're describing it, seems to be not fungible in the sense that each there's some kind of a note for every transaction, and it gets split and so on. So kind of why that particular design? Thank you.
Maybe I'll take the first question and we'll hand over to my colleague Lars for the second question. So for the costs on the user side, as we mentioned, we imagine it to be handed out by intermediaries, the wallets to the users. And there we could imagine even innovative business models that intermediaries may come up with. For instance, in one of the countries that we are working with, the intermediaries are extracting the history of the cards once they collect it again, and that is used for credit scoring, for instance. So we don't imagine it to be free to the end user, but there could be business models attached to those wallets. And on the merchant side, we also don't imagine any costs for the merchants themselves, but there could be costs for providing interoperability solutions, for instance. So whenever you choose, you switch from, for instance, mobile money or from bank accounts to CBDC and backwards, for providing that interoperability, there could be a small fee that is charged by the provider of such interoperability solutions.
Right. Thank you.
I will try to answer the second question. So our tokens are completely fungible. The splitting and the merging and the switch that you have seen in our documents are a technical measure in order to prevent double spending and also to follow cryptographic best practices by rotating the key of the token frequently, because we use established cryptography and it is an agreed upon standard to not have very long living keys. So that's why we rotate those keys frequently. But this is all done internally inside the wallets, and the user has no need to do that manually. It's all being done automatically during the payment.
Right. Thank you. The next one, Director Mu.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks to the team's very good plan. And I have one question, that is how to enhance the security level of the hardware wallet, because definitely the cyber attacks is very very advanced in some sense. Do you have any plan for the security? Thank you.
Yes, so the devices have a secure element built in, which already provides some very strong guarantees. We also have a PIN authentication, and depending on the requirements in the ecosystem, there could even be further biometric identification.
I apologize. The time is up. Thank you, the G&D Filia team, and thank you all the judges. Finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you. Bye-bye. I will introduce our next team, will be Crunchfish AB. You may start your presentation for 3 minutes.
Yes, okay, thanks. Crunchfish decided to showcase consecutive offline payments. Payment systems, including most CBDC systems, are typically online payment systems. Consecutive payments are easy online, as in the left of the picture, but here we showcase consecutive offline payments, as in the right of the picture. We decided on these use cases as it's important for financial inclusion, enabling digital payments without any connectivity and providing users with immediate access to incoming payments. This enables digital currency as well as preservation of liquidity, even in areas lacking connectivity and during disaster scenarios, an important requirement for CBDC. In the Techsprint, we demonstrated similar integration with the Apex platform by loading a wallet with digital cash, as well as initiating settlement by uploading the offline transactions when users come back online. We arrive at the same balances and transaction logs after settlement as if consecutive payments were made online. This is made possible by the Crunchfish Digital Cash platform that is designed to augment any payment service, including CBDC, with offline payments. So why is this important? Well, financial inclusion is achieved in multiple ways by our platform. The fact that digital cash is software-based as an extension to any payment service makes it very scalable and affordable to roll out. Offline payments implemented in existing popular payment services in the market, backed by the central bank with CBDC, provides for interoperability, convenience, and ease of use for the user. In the G20 Techsprint, we showcased offline payments between mobiles. And we recently, in a hackathon organized by the Reserve Bank of India, also showcased consecutive offline payments between mobiles and non-mobile devices, such as cards and wearables. Flexibility when it comes to form factor is also very important for financial inclusion, as not everybody can afford a mobile or have difficulties in handling one due to disabilities or very young or old age. The ability to pay offline is, of course, also key for financial inclusion, as online connectivity is certainly not available everywhere and at any time. So let us look how we implement this securely. For starters, when it comes to offline payments, protection against double spending must happen offline. Online reconciliation is too late, as offline transactions executed between parties must be trusted there and then to exchange goods and services. Crunchfish Digital Cash Platform is an account-based solution that is built around having a balance and ledger offline that corresponds with a balance and an account ledger online. Digital Cash is managed offline in a trusted application within a certified virtual secure element. Crunchfish is also implemented.
Right, Crunchfish, the time is up. All right, thank you, Crunchfish AB. And let's start the Q&A session. Please, all the judges, to raise your hands. Right, the first one, Ms. Kose.
Thank you very much. Also, thank you very much to the team. So my question is on the onboarding and the distribution of the CBDC. How would this work? For example, how can a person without a bank account open and top up a CBDC balance?
Our system is sort of a system that augments a payment service. So this would be possible to have if there is a financial payment service in the market, which could be opened with an e-money license without a bank account. This could be adding our offline digital cash wallet to that service. So this could certainly be used for unbanked unbanked people as well. It could only be then attached to someone with an e-money license, that payment service. We augment payment services.
Right, thank you. The next one will be Ms. Horsley.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the team for this presentation. In the documentation, reference is made to an offline certificate that gets issued by an intermediary or the central bank. Could you maybe just elaborate on what that is and the purpose of that offline certificate? Thanks.
Do you want to take that, Magnus?
Yeah, so the offline certificate is part of the PKI structure, which we use as the foundation for the security of the full end-to-end solution. And then we also build, of course, onto the trusted application, which Joachim mentioned in the presentation and which is in the material as such.
Right, is that all? Thank you. Okay, thank you. The next judge will be Ms. Fortune.
Thanks for this. I just wanted to build on that first question. So as you say, this is sort of an add-on to existing payment systems. Are there any specific requirements on those payment systems that you need for the solution to work? What kind of technology it's on, etc.?
Yeah, we run on, when it comes to mobiles, it could run on any iOS or Android device. Our trusted environment is on any of those devices. So it's a software-based solution, makes it also very, very scalable. So we don't need any specific hardware on the payment side.
And that's why we also can run it on other devices like cards or anywhere where you have a smart card, in a sense. As long as you can load the software.
Right. Okay. Thank you. The next one will be from Prof. Chin Chuan.
Yeah, offline payments, of course, are very important. But given the technology now, you're sort of account-based. So different institutions, financial institutions, likely to adopt different things. So therefore, across the sort of system from different institutions may not be talking to each other anymore, right? Because your offline issued by one institution and the offline devices from another institution may not be from your own system. It could be two or three different systems, right? Is that the possibility? It's most likely to happen, right? Correct? I don't know whether I made myself clear. In other words, there doesn't seem to have some uniformity unless everyone adopt this system. So offline payment as a financial inclusion is very different from a physical cash now we deal with, right? Because everyone recognizes that cash.
Yeah, I think within the markets, I think that's why it's important for the CBDC system. We can have the same trust if that root certificate is issued by, say, a central bank across multiple sort of payment services. But what we also could do is to connect various sort of platform to each other that decide to be operable as well. But you're very right. I think it is decided on when to receive a payment that we need the same sort of trust between systems as well.
Right. Thank you. Time's up. Thank you, Crunchfish, AB, and thank you for all the judges. Finalists, you will be assigned to exit the judging room in a few moments. And once again, thank you. Bye-bye. And our next team is Fluency. Three minutes presentation time starts now.
Hi, good evening. Our innovative blockchain technology, Orium, is fully aligned and solves all of the three main problems for the G20 Techsprint 2022. CBDC issuance, financial inclusion, enabling connectivity, and interoperability. Orium is a proprietary permission blockchain platform built from scratch that enables central banks to issue and manage CBDCs with full customization. It delivers true benefits to the global society, empowering the unbanked and underbanked by fostering inclusive growth in emerging economies, enabling digital finance access for all, while maintaining regulatory compliance. At its core, Orium is a blockchain-stored, account-based CBDC solution with privacy by design, dual offline functionality when both the payee and the payer are offline, interoperability and programmability as key features. It can be utilized through smartphones, smart cards, smartwatches, and other forms of digital wallets without the need for a bank account or the disclosure of private data. Orium not only enables consecutive offline payments by providing an innovative offline blockchain stored CBD solution, it has far greater benefits than token-based offline solutions, such as enabling dual offline payments when neither the payee or the payer have mobile or internet connection. It also has no double spending security issues. Selecting our technology would greatly support the Indonesian government in achieving its target of 90% financial inclusion by 2024. Thank you for your time, and we welcome any questions that you may have.
You still have 1 minute and 20 seconds. Is that enough?
Yeah, Glenn, is there anything else you'd like to add?
All right, thank you. Let's move to the judges. Right, the judges, please raise your hands. Right, the first one, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to just ask a little bit on how you imagined this to play out from moving from proof of concept towards implementing this tool. What are some of the key hurdles and the key challenges that you imagine you'd face? Thank you.
Yes, please, you can answer the question.
So the key challenges that are for building CBDC project of such scope as ours is basically meeting all of the CBDC requirements posed by different central banks, including Central Bank of Indonesia. And that's why we decided to build this kind of platform from scratch, so not to reuse already existing or established technologies, but rather try to understand all the needs, all the requirements, and build a specific design that fits everything in one platform that can be simply configured out of the box and be ready to be used in production by the central bank. And that's basically our answer for that issue. We were able to actually create such a platform, and we believe that it fulfills all the requirements put by the G20 and G7 as well for the CBDC. Thank you.
Right, thank you. The next one will be from Ms. Kose.
Thank you very much. Also, thank you to the team. So, about the onboarding, which entities would do the onboarding of clients, and what would they need actually to do so in terms of hardware and software, especially in remote areas?
So we envision handling of identity data to be used with a solution called decentralized identity. So we envision it that central bank is able to configure the network in what kind of templates and what kind of data it would like to have standardized inside the CBDC platform. However, the process of injecting that data into the platform, so gathering that data from end user, then processing in and creating this identity credential for the user would lie on the side of intermediary. So this will be one of the services that they could provide for the users. So mainly onboarding, getting all the required documents, and then using their access right in order to whitelist that this user can use the CBDC network and that it has this kind of identity.
Thank you. The next one from Ms. Pia Tayak.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the presenters. Just a question on the cross-border cross-asset payments. Could you discuss the plans on that a little bit more, and how this will enhance existing user experience in terms of making cross-border payments?
So we envision the cross-border payments to be implemented as a message-driven protocol that works on top of our CBDC platform in a way that this protocol serves a purpose of like a gateway for a certain CBDC network. And in order to communicate with the external CBDC platform or external RTGS systems or any other kind of financial systems, it would be possible as long as a central bank configures the whitelist in a way that they are allowing this separate external entity to connect to the network and basically connect the corresponding actions between both systems through some adapter that allows to translate messages from one system to another system, and also make sure that those messages are exchanged and handled in a fully atomic way. This solution ensures that there is no strict coupling of the technology, so there is the minimum amount of friction between the different CBDC platforms and different financial systems, regardless of how they are implemented.
Right. Time's up. Thank you very much for the Fluency team, and thank you for all judges. Finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. And once again, thank you. Next, we give a warm welcome for Rogues CBDC. You may begin your 3-minute presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're extremely pleased to have been shortlisted for this challenge. My name is Andy Jobst. I'm the Chief Economist of Roxy, and I'm joined by my fabulous team, Josh Lee, Chief Business Officer, Jimmy Lee, our Chief Technology Officer, Ahmed El-Nawi, who is our Managing Director, Business Development, and Dan Liu, our Product Manager. Before we go into the Q&As, let me briefly highlight the key features of Roxy CBDC our solution, and the way we are unique amongst the field of shortlisted competitors in the G20 Techsprint. What is our uniqueness? This ROXI CBDC operating model combines a safe account-based system for ownership, like in current payment infrastructures, with blockchain-based issuance and transaction validation. So we are combining the best of both worlds. This hybrid system is plugged to our private instant settlement network, which can fully integrate transactions from existing conventional payment systems. This way we achieve efficiency, integrity, and safety without overhauling a country's legacy payment system infrastructure. Our CBDC solution also recognizes the enormous public accountability a central bank carries by giving the central bank confidence in controlling the issuance of CBDC while providing real-time on-chain transaction settlement capability. More specifically, key aspects of our operating model are that the issuance and the access to CBDC is account-based, so custodial. The CBDCs are issued on ROXI's proprietary blockchain based on a permission system with delegated proof of stake. Second, our CBDC governance is programmatic. Smart contracts govern the issuance and the redemption of CBDC, the transfer between nodes, and the validation of balances and transactions for the central bank and all users of CBDC. Third, privacy and scalability are optimized. The minted CBDCs are distributed via privacy-protected and identity-verified ROXI ID e-wallets. In our demo, we are focused chiefly on the distribution and transfer of CBDC, as well as the cross-border remittance capability of our solution to demonstrate how we leverage the programmability of our approach. And with that introduction, I turn it over to the judging panel for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you for ROXI CBDC, and let's start the Q&A session. Judges, please raise your hands. Ms. Kose.
Thank you very much, and also congratulations to the team. So one interesting idea I picked up from reading your material was the proposal of a new CBDC collateral, BTCBR. I was wondering if you could provide a little bit more details on that, how that would look like, how that would work.
Yes, in our presentation, we have focused on the key features, but CBDC Plus is an optional add-on, if you will, which allows to create tokenized collateral, and by tokenization, we mean a tokenization of Bitcoin hash rate. So in a way, we're creating digital gold by converting, monetizing the value of mining capacity into a token, which then can serve as digital reserve for any unit of CBDC being minted and distributed. And that's particularly valuable in an environment where safe collateral is scarce. So in addition to gold and FX reserves, BTCBR, so that the tokenized Bitcoin hash rate could serve as a viable alternative and auditable alternative to other common reserve assets central banks could use.
Thank you. Next question, right, Ms. Iota.
Just building on the last comment, and congratulations to the team for the presentation. Building on this last point about the tokenization of the Bitcoin hash rate, do you make any plans for offsetting any of the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining in your project overall?
It's an excellent question. That's embedded in the proposition. In a way, the energy that's required for mining Bitcoin is in a way is meant to be generated from idle energy in a particular country that is not accessible. You're well familiar with the last mile problem of infrastructure, that some energy that is naturally abundant in countries, Latin America, volcanic energy, but also hydro energy, is not harvested really by countries because it needs to be taken to the consumer. But alternatively, you can plug your mining infrastructure to those natural resources of energy and generate the revenue, which then can be used to build out infrastructure in those countries that are underserved. So in a way, it serves two purposes. One, As a matter of fact, by using energy, it creates even more benefits to the green transition by plowing the revenues back into energy infrastructure, preferably infrastructure that serves the green transition of countries, and at the same time also is inclusive, provides jobs, and that infrastructure can cater to create progress in countries that also don't lack the necessary credibility in terms of running an independent monetary regime.
Right, thank you. The next one from judges, please raise your hand. If there is any question from the judges, we still have, Prof.
I just raised my hand.
Yeah.
Okay. No, from reading what you have, you start to have lots of this monetary function, like a reserve and stuff like that. I was wondering, in your mind, you're going to do away with the electronic money altogether, just use the CBDC. Because if that's not the case, you cannot have a reserve and all that, right? Because there are multiple channels. Because of interbank trading and all that, so account basis kind of activities. Unless you take into account those, you don't have a real-time reserve, right? So I was thinking about what you have in mind, actually. This is going to be just do away with any other form of electronic money.
If I understand your question correctly, to make sure that I'm answering specifically your field of interest, the issue is that if we move to a comprehensive adoption of CBDC as a form of payment, right, then in a way reserves are fungible. So we need.
Time's up. Apologize. Thank you for Roxy CBDC. Thank you once again. Finalists, in a few moments you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you. Bye-bye. Right, judges, I hope you are all ready for the next team. This is Business Reporting Advisory Group. The screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are here with the entire team and very eager to share a few words about our concept. What we have particularly taken as our challenge is to connect the different CBDCs and connect the national payment railways, as well as any possible digital ledger registries that may be developed over time. So essentially, we wanted to demonstrate how using a standard called ISO 20022, the backbone of the modern payments infrastructure around the world, we could enable synchronization of information between the various CBDCs and the DLTs, essentially bringing the DVP, delivery versus payment, and PVP, payment versus payment transactions, to a synchronized stage, to a stage where this information does not allow for double spending of money or double selling, for instance, of the properties. We have taken a simple case. We have taken a case of a property being purchased by between two different jurisdictions, Poland and Indonesia in this case, and illustrated how exchange of information using the so-called ISO 20022 messages and our piece of software developed specifically for the Techsprint, the synchronization operator, enables exchange of state of information between the CBDC. It allows to start a transaction in one CBDC and finalize the transaction in another one, also interconnecting to a DLT registry that confirmed the status of ownership of the particular property being the subject of the trade. We managed to create a simple POC and demonstrate how this transaction is executed along the chain of various messages that are operated by the national payment railway systems, such as messages, paying messages, count messages, and PAX messages. These are some technical, so to say, components, the ingredients of the entire payments network around the world, and primarily used by the central banks to create the architecture, to create a scalable, resilient, and secure payment architecture, including fast payment systems. So essentially, to wrap up for the judges, what we have focused on, and we hope we have created a very tiny, obviously building block of, is the backbone of the network connecting the future payments. You could probably compare it to something like a set of routers and switches that operate the TCP/IP protocol to transfer information between different parts of the world, and therefore create a very scalable, very efficient network of exchange of information globally. Thank you very much, and we are very open to any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Business Reporting Advisory Group. And let's move to the judges to give the questions to the team. Miss Fortune.
Thanks very much for that. Nice, clear response that you submitted. I was wondering, obviously you've got this stuff about the messaging standard and how that helps with this. Is it necessary for the technologies to also be quite aligned, or can it work with lots of different technologies?
It can work with different technologies. ISO 20022 already works, the older version with XML, but the newer version with JSON objects, which are actually particularly fit for purpose, considering the API connections. So yes, it is open to a variety of technologies, technologically neutral, as we call it.
Thank you. Next, judges. Right, Ms. Kose.
Thank you very much. Also, thank you to the team. So, the video that you were showing provides an example of buying a house abroad, so cross-border payment. So I was wondering about some other use cases, so domestic use cases and linkages with other domestic payment rails. Would the solution allow for that too, and how would it work?
Yes, so for instance, in Europe, we use a separate payment system for fast transactions and in general for euro-denominated transactions. We could imagine a national CBDC using the ISO 20022 messages connecting to the SEPA system. So for instance, starting the transaction in, let's say, a national system operated by a country like ours, Poland, with Polish zloty as a currency, and then obviously using exchange rate translation services, it could end up in a SEPA system, basically delivering the payment in a real euro-denominated, for instance, Eurozone jurisdiction. So yes, it could work within a specific region. It could work also within a national payment if there are 2 or 3 systems connecting to a local CBDC. So let's assume that the central bank wants to develop a CBDC. They already operate an existing payment railway based on ISO 20022. Then obviously there needs to be an exchange of information between those two. We believe that the synchronization operator, a mechanism like that, based on the 20022 messages, could actually serve this purpose.
Thank you. The next judge. There is no other question from the judges. The team, you can use your remaining time to deliver your closing statement.
Well, thank you very much. It's a brilliant opportunity to participate in Techsprint, and for us it was wonderful to be able to test the ideas that we implement with a range of central banks. We actually, as part of our experience, we introduced ISO 20022 in one of the major European central banks' RTGS renewal programs. Therefore, actually, the concept that we created is based on papers, working papers provided by the Payment Association in this country and the central bank from this country. They outlined the foundation of that. We basically fleshed it out in a piece of code and demonstrating how how synchronization of these messages delivers a real value, a simple, elegant solution that is not particularly expensive to be implemented in any jurisdiction. It provides the foundation. It provides the ability to scale it. At the same time, we have to admit that obviously due to the limitations of the Techsprint POC, the 2 months that we had to develop that, we would need to still flesh out a number of things and specify details of cybersecurity nature. And then different CBDCs may have different properties that will need to be taken into account. But we do strongly believe that the foundation that we have created here could work for the central banks as the building block for any consideration of interoperable payment systems, especially if the central bank is considering implementation of a CBDC and at the same time is considering, for instance, or has already implemented an ISO 20022 based payment system. We believe that's the future. We believe this is a very scalable, very interesting concept for us. We will continue working on that, especially with the central banks that we are in touch with, and we'll be very happy to get in touch with others who might be interested in the concept. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you once again for Business Reporting Advisory Group, and also thank you for the judges. Finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. And once again, thank you. Welcome to the judging session. The next finalist will be Satellite Moving Devices Group. Start the presentation for 3 minutes.
Our solution is a new way of doing things in the cross-border industry. This slide represents the old model, which is multiple steps, where you have a clearinghouse and others in the middle. That's the old way of doing things. It's extremely expensive. It's extremely slow. The pay with glass model is actually done by modern APIs. We provide the core transaction engine as pay with glass, SMD Group, and we work with multiple partners who are specialists and experts in all of the other areas required to actually complete the process, such as identity verification, AML, KYC. The result is a system which, even though it uses blockchain for the ultimate source of truth, that's only 20% of our stack. We have the other 80%, which allows us to get to 1.1 million transactions per second with full compliance, and that's even cross-border. To sort of explain that a little bit more clearly, I'm going to just run a very short video and I'll talk through it. This first portion represents what the old model looks like and several days that it takes to do a transaction. In the new model, in a full enclosed ecosystem, we allow the central banks to have their own dashboard access where they can issue the currency. We allow the institutions to have their own dashboard access where they can integrate their compliance support. They can even build their own mobile applications or even integrate the existing applications they have over API to enable the full capabilities of the system, which means full cross-border full compliance with every transaction, including cross-border transactions. Just as an example, the mobile applications could end up looking anything like this from various institutions, and they're all part of this ecosystem, which guarantees that they all have full interoperability with each other with the full compliance, regardless of the currency being used to transmit. So the central bank can issue the CBDC, and each institution can then have full cross-border capabilities within that stack. The customers of each institution will do their own onboarding, and the KYC solution that's integrated will guarantee that each user is KYC'd, and it allows full real-time transaction monitoring and full AML in real time for every single transaction. This massively simplifies the process, completely changes the way things are done. We shared with you guys some documentation and the API access, so you could actually see for yourself. We also opened up a portion of the system that's normally very closed and secure, which is the direct access to the blockchain portion. In our case, we're actually using a private fork of the Stellar blockchain, which is a federated blockchain, very suitable for the consortium type approach that we're taking here, because we have multiple partners working together to provide the final solution. In the current market, we're launching our pilot, which is the UK. We're working with multiple partners led by ourselves, Boston Consulting Group, and others. And in other markets, we could have a combination of other partners depending on what's required.
Right. Time's up. Thank you for Satellite Moving Devices Group. And let's move to the Q&A session. Judges, a question from the judges. Please raise your hands. Prof. Chinchuan.
Hi. In your paper, you actually mentioned about the FX aggregator as an example. I think it's a cue to have. But my question is, when we start embark on going in down that direction, are we sort of changing the nature of currency? I thought the CBDC payment system just to make a payment. It's not trying to be smart. Being smart is by participant, right? So,
well, the challenge there is that if you implement a CBDC system and you don't have compliance built in, you're not able to enable the full real-time cross-border transaction capabilities. So you do need to add some sort of smarts to the system. Otherwise, you end up with a new version of the old system. You're not changing anything. You're not taking advantage of what CBDCs can do.
What I meant by smart, it's not smart contract kind of smart. Smart contract is not smart. It's a set of rules you abide by. Well, because your FX aggregator, it's an intelligent system, presumably, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's what I meant, but I don't mean the smart contract. Is it those for compliance, for garden variety reason, we need to have a set of rules to be implemented. I understand
yes.
that. But I'm just saying is that once I go beyond that, it's no longer a payment system, right? It's something, it's like a business service add-on and this and that, the bundle service. Is that good? I'm just saying.
It is good, but it's not exactly what we do. What we do is we provide the infrastructure. We allow the partners, i.e. the institutions already regulated in your jurisdiction, to be a part of that. So this is a set of tools, and you as a central bank can implement them however you see fit. Set the rules, set the compliance regulations, set the FX and everything else rules around the system for your economic modeling. You have real-time data coming to you. And then once you set these rules, you can determine what institutions who are regulated by you are on board and how they use the system. It also means you have guaranteed interoperability with every other central bank doing exactly the same thing on the same platform. So that's the reason for the design of the system in this manner.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Thank you from Professor Chin Chuan. The next one from Ms. Pia Tayak.
Thank you, Chair, and great presentation. So just asking about the financial institutions, since you will be riding on existing account-based platforms, how about for smaller institutions? Will this be a problem for maybe in a jurisdiction that there's a financial institution that serves, very low income, large client base? Will it be easy for them to also be onboarded in this?
Absolutely, and it's designed to reduce the cost that they have to operate on the system as well. So, for example, in our UK model, we currently don't charge per transaction, and that's deliberate. We charge a flat annual license fee for the use of the technology, and it allows the institutions to charge whatever they want to charge, which means that in a low-income jurisdiction, they don't have those overheads to actually offer the services. Additionally, because it's a REST API-based system, it fast-tracks the process for these institutions, which means it saves them costs for development. So they're able to get in there quickly. It saves them the costs that would normally be incurred when it comes to multilateral agreements, because by joining the consortium, you have an agreement with everyone by default as a baseline, and then you can actually just interact with everyone else without those high costs. So it's meant to be a new way, but it's also designed to look at the realities of cost per jurisdiction.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Fortune.
Thanks for this. I think your previous answer may have helped me understand this. So for a cross-border payment, your presentation sort of suggested a global digital ID. Does it rely on everybody having the same set of rules, this solution?
No, there is a baseline set of rules to guarantee interoperability, but every jurisdiction can set their own rules. The problem with moving into the CBDC era is that because there's no global set of compliance regulations per jurisdiction, and then every institution in every jurisdiction has their own risk appetite and their own sort of way of doing things, you don't have a ready foundation for cross-border to work in the digital currency era. So we must have some sort of agreement across the regulators around the world before we even go down that road, regardless of what technology is being used. And we've approached this by saying, okay, look, let's work with partners that are already in multiple countries. Like one of the compliance partners for us is Finclusive out of the US. They're in 170 countries, which means they're able to help lay down that foundation of rules for each regulator.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. The time is up. Thank you for the satellite moving devices group. And in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests and judges, we would like to remind you that the deadline of scores submission will still open until tomorrow, so that you can go back after hearing today's responses from the finalists to revise your scores if needed. And now, we will have a short break before we continue the session. Please do not leave this room, and we'll be back shortly in 5 minutes. See you soon. The judges back with me again, Wahyu Iwoho from Jakarta, Indonesia. And I will present our next team, FIS. You may begin the presentation for 3 minutes.
Thank you. Effective and robust implementation of CBDC can only be achieved by integrating the CBDC network with the existing payments landscape to ensure issuance and redemption is only in exchange for reserves and bank deposits. And second, financial stability is maintained by mitigating the risk of bank disintermediation caused by a large substitution of bank deposits for CBDC. We built a two-tier CBDC and digital regulated money network where the Bank of Indonesia was the sole issuer of CBDC, and intermediaries such as banks and payment service providers provided wallets to end users and handled all customer interactions. Banks could also issue digital regulated money, a form of tokenized bank deposits. We demonstrated automated CBDC issuance and redemption. If the end user wanted CBDC, they could request that from their bank or payment service provider. If the bank or payment service provider did not have enough CBDC, the liquidity tool we developed automatically requested more CBDC from the central bank for the amount plus a buffer amount as per the thresholds that they set by the requesting provider. This would trigger an RTGS payment from the provider to the central bank. And our digital money platform acknowledged the payment had been made on RTGS, and then the CBDC was issued and transferred to the provider, who then transferred to the end user. To enrich the experiments, we included Indonesian bank BNI, who liked the liquidity tool to better manage CBDC demand and supply. They also liked how there was no human or manual intervention involved. Using our shared hierarchical ledger, digital money platform and wallet, we proved fungibility between CBDC, digital regulated money, and fiat money, with a user-friendly wallet which showed end users bank deposits and in which they could easily convert their bank deposits into CBDC and to digital regulated money, and vice versa. We also developed a solution to prevent the risk of bank disintermediation. The Bank of Indonesia could set limits on CBDC, and if an end user received a payment which took them above that limit, the excess amount was automatically exchanged into digital regulated money of the wallet provider. The Indonesian bank BNI liked this as digital regulated money they issued, they could lend out any deposits as per any LCR requirements of the jurisdiction. We also responded to both optional problem statements. You can find more details on these and the main problem statement using this URL and password. Thank you. We can now open up for Q&A.
Right. You still have time if you want to continue, or we can move to the Q&A session. Right. Thank you. The judges, any questions? Please do raise your hands first. Anyone? Right, Ms. Kose.
Thank you very much, and thank you also to the team. So I'm curious about the applicability for cross-border payments. Can you say a few words on that?
Yes, so we with our digital money platform, with our partners M10, we have an FX service. So we can connect other CBDC networks or digital regulated money networks. We can, with our platform, deploy this in each country or have, global instances running, and we can have different ledgers for different currencies. And what was quite exciting during the challenge, we tested a programmable payment, but for a cross-border retail remittance. So we did a retail remittance between two countries, and the payment executed if a favorable exchange rate was hit. And that was all done as an atomic payment bus payment.
And the next one from Ms. Horsley.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe just a question to clarify. So if I'm a non-bank and I want access to the CBDC and I don't have access to RTGS, how do I then acquire the CBDC from the central bank?
Yeah, so there's different options for this. So, if you're a payment service provider, if you don't have RTGS access, you could have a sponsor bank, but we are also looking at different implementations of this, whether we can use our account-to-account payment system. We have a FIS to help facilitate some of that, the payments between, for payment service providers and then to the central bank to get the CBDC. But we would, kind of expect payment service providers to hold, a stock of CBDC. The liquidity tool, they could set a threshold, so they would have a lower amount of CBDC and an upper amount, and they would get that from a sponsor bank. But we are looking at different implementations there as well, because we know not everyone has access to RTGS, and it can be quite a complex process as well. Thank you for your question.
Next, judges. Anyone from the judges? Questions? Right, okay. Maybe for the team, FIS, if you want to use your remaining time to give or deliver your closing statement.
Yes, so we learned a lot during this challenge. So one of the things we really enjoyed was obviously showing the interactions between CBDC, digital regulated money, and experimenting with limits and looking at how we could solve the issue of fractional banking. Obviously that's a big challenge that has come up. And what was very exciting is how we integrated with our RTGS emulators and our banking emulators, so that when we did CBDC issuance and redemption, it was a fully automated and integrated process. So there was no manual intervention, no minting with central bank employees coming together. It was all an automated process. And we showed, the digital money platform with APIs. We were able to, see what was happening on the RTGS system. And when, end users requested CBDC, we showed how, using the APIs, how their bank deposits were debited and credited on redemption as well. And we showed when we did transfers, we did transfers between different individuals, and we showed fungibility, how an end user could send digital regulated money to another end user and then convert that back easily into bank deposits. So it was very exciting. We also showed on the command centers, which you can access on that URL, which we'll paste into the chat as well. You can see the command centers, which the central banks could have a real-time view of all payment trends, data analytics on how many wallets there are, CBDC in issuance, what the different activity was, as well as what was happening on digital regulated money. So, the banks, we showed in the experiments, BNI Bank issuing digital regulated money to their end users, and then they could be able to, do normal lending and how they do today with bank deposits. With the ledger, there was no personal identifiable information, so I know that was an important part of the challenge as well. So we learned a lot, and we hope you enjoy looking at some of the more details on our site.
Right, thank you. Thank you once again for FIS team, and also thank you for all the judges. Finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. And once again, thank you. Bye-bye. Welcome back again. And let's present our next team, BitMint. Three minutes presentation time starts now.
My name is Gideon Samid, representing BitMint. I want to express my deep honor for the privilege to talk to you and to present to you what we have been working on for quite some time, for quite a few years. Our design motif was to use digital technology to serve society, to enhance the prosperity of the community. That was the motivation. We have come up with three unique features that we think differentiate us. The first one is we are quantum defensive. We developed a strategy that will ensure that we will stay afloat and stay alive no matter what happens with quantum computers, how advanced they are. And our principle is called a mutation. The same way that a virus defeats all the vaccines that come at it because it mutates, our solution is based on mutation, of the algorithmic challenge facing the attacker. And it keeps changing all the time, mutating fast enough to ensure that the attacker is behind. So that is very, very fundamental, because we don't know when the quantum computers will come and destroy the existing system. The second important feature is that we found a way to give the authority a very powerful anti-money laundering tool without violating the privacy of the traders. And the concept is based on focusing on the coin itself. The authority that mints the coin can keep the repayment of the coin in suspension. And although we may not find out who owns the coin right now, by being able to violate the value of the coin, if the owner is honest, he comes forth and explains how he honestly owns the coin. If he is a criminal, he just loses the coin. The third.
Right. Thank you. Your time is over.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we will start the Q&A session. The judges, any questions? Please do raise your hands. And Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the interesting presentation. How adaptable would you say your solution is across jurisdictions? Thank you.
Okay. I think it's very adaptable, because the way we see it, each jurisdiction issues what we call a digital claim check, which is a digital token against a commodity that is traded. It may be a US dollar, it may be a chunk of gold, whatever it is. And because it is traded globally, any other jurisdiction that has its own coin, digital coin, against a similar commodity can easily exchange digital money from one jurisdiction against digital money from a second jurisdiction, because they are backed by commodities that are universal.
And the next one from Professor Tuan Chin Chuan.
Yeah. For the quantum sort of cyber attack proof, you mentioned about the mutation. To mutate what?
Okay.
There's a lot of, so many aspects, right? So which one? Mutate algorithm, mutate...
So we mutate the algorithmic challenge that the attacker tries to crack.
Oh.
Right now, there is a single algorithm, the elliptic curve, which most coins are using. The way we structure it, every user that owns a coin is not only selecting a key for the standard algorithm, but also selects his own one-way function, its own algorithmic challenge to the attacker. And the next trader will select its own algorithmic challenge. And so the attacker will eventually have to crack all the algorithmic challenges of all the historic owners. Mm-hmm. And this can be made so formidable that no quantum computer can break.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Chin Chuan. The next one from Miss Fortune.
Thanks very much for this. It was a novel idea. I was wondering, is it only suitable for people with a high level of technical knowledge to use, or would it be quite accessible?
That's an excellent question, because the selection of an algorithm, the selection of the key, everything is done under the hood. We designed it in such a way that the user just takes his device, selects the sum of money, selects the payee, clicks the button, everything is done inside. No need to memorize, nothing. We make it as similar as cash transaction. The payer-payee transfer is the key to our solution.
Thank you. The next one, Ms. Pia Tayak.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I think related to that last question, I'd like to ask for more details on your answer on the first optional statement. You mentioned about the possibility of those without accounts to be able to be serviced through what you define as helicopter money. Could you describe the user experience for this?
Yes, the user will have a device. If it's a phone or it's an iPad, in this device, there will be the private keys of all their former owners and their own key. Everything will be in the device itself, which means that the payer, the holder of the money, can simply prove that he is the right owner by transferring the private keys to the payee, and it goes to the payee's device. The payee validates the private keys through a public ledger, but the public ledger doesn't need peers' approval. The only thing that is required is for the payee to have access to the public ledger.
All right, sir. All right, sir. Thank you very much. Your time is up. Thank you for the team of Bitmin. And the finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you once again. Welcome to the judging session. Our next team, SEA. You may start your 3 minutes presentation.
Hello, judges. Thank you for the time. Trust, availability, functionalities, and costs are the key drivers for CBDC adoption. Stellar, eCurrency, and ANZ built a two-tier intermediated CBDC issuance based on learnings from live implementations. The submitted solution enables the central bank to mint CBDC as a digital bearer instrument through an air-gapped hardware security system. The CBDC is issued to financial intermediaries, which distribute the CBDC to the custodian and non-custodian wallets of the end users via the open blockchain platform. The wallets and mobile apps facilitate KYC and due diligence by intermediaries while preserving privacy. Programmable features, policies, and controls such as AML approval, limits, wallet fees, clawback can be implemented at the currency and at the service level to achieve the right balance between sovereignty, security, performance, and innovation according to the use case. People and businesses can use their CBDC online or offline with a connection to the network according to the policy and compliance policies. Cross-border is also illustrated in the submission for efficient forex conversion, even for low-value transactions. All this CBDC circulation information will be available at the wallet and transaction level to the central bank according to the privacy rules for monitoring and policy-making decisions. Stellar, eCurrency, and ANZ look forward to conducting a pilot with BI and other central banks, local financial sectors, and in a control environment to give the stakeholders a more in-depth evaluation in the local country context. Welcome to and happy to answer any questions from the judges.
Thank you. Is that enough, or you may add another presentation as you still have another 30 seconds?
No, it's okay. We'll take questions now.
Thank you. Let's start the Q&A session. The judges, any question? Yeah, Ms. Nasser.
Hello, and congratulations on this very comprehensive proposal. So if I'm not mistaken, I think that you have selected NFTs for the ID part, the identification part of your scheme, right?
No, we don't have NFTs for our identification. We are looking at the existing credentials from central banks or for regulated authorities. And the validation is performed by the distribution intermediaries.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you. And the next one, Ms. Anneke Kos.
Thank you very much, Chair, and also thank you to the team for the very well written and clear supporting documentation. So I had a question on cross-border payments and especially on the off-ramping, how that would look like or work. So let's say I make a CBDC payment, it crosses the border, and then what if the recipient would like to convert that into his or her domestic non-CBDC currency? How would it look like?
So we are basically using regulated intermediaries to do the distribution and access. And in our model, we have showcased interoperability with the existing payment rails. So our suggestion is that when licensed operators are provided, they be provided access to existing payment rails, and therefore they can convert the CBDCs into traditional e-monies or into cash or any other modes what they may prefer.
Right, thank you. Any other questions from the judges? Right? All right, if there's no other question, I will give the remaining time for the team to give your closing statement.
Sure. I'll probably summarize our things. We have actually created this prototype based on our live implementation examples of CBDCs in some of the markets by e-currency, the Stellar payment network, which is already live and distributing a number of currencies. At ANZ, we have also experimented with stable coins, looking at how we can stay compliant, providing distribution and access. We have also demonstrated in the prototype how an offline access can be provided to customers, typically for an emergency use or where there is lack of network. And these could be operated in a very compliant way in terms of providing transaction thresholds as per the local policy. We have also proposed that the implementation, while we have suggested as an intermediated model in our model, where the intermediaries get the visibility, but not the central bank is at an aggregated level. An alternate hybrid model of CBDCs can also be implemented. We believe a mix of the traditional payment rails, interoperable, regulated, licensed institutions doing distribution, while tapping the power of DLT in terms of the Stellar network, allows a good mix of services addressing financial inclusion, safety, security, as well as a very secure model of providing cash and providing more particularly financial inclusion to those people who may not have access. And overall improving the velocity of money, because more people have more digitized forms, it allows them to transact at a much lower cost. Use of some of the DeFi emerging technologies as they mature to provide atomic swaps of foreign exchange also reduces the cost. And given we are using DLT systems, it also allows for instant payments, less settlement risk, and the liquidity could be monitored in real time by the central banks. And in our submission, we have shown the screenshots of the prototype where the central bank system is well encapsulated within the e-currency platform and supporting the minting and issuance, whereas the distribution is done by licensed intermediaries, including banks, on a DLT platform like Stellar, which has very strong KYC compliance and also provides for a clawback in case or hold the particular type of digital assets. So we believe that this is a good model for central banks to consider in their evaluation of CBDC and use cases.
Very much for the SEA team. And finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for staying with us. And please give a warm welcome for our next team, Ripple team. You may begin the presentation for 3 minutes.
Thank you all for the time across previous sessions, assessment of the submission and the Q&A session today. We appreciate the opportunity to work with both Bank Indonesia and BIS Innovation Hub members on these innovative topics. Ripple provides a CBDC platform which is based upon XRP Ledger, open source technology through which the public decentralized network has protected billions of dollars of value for over a decade without a significant operational or security incident. And we incorporate the attributes that central banks need for CBDCs, providing a private permission network where governance is defined and currency issuance is under full control of the central bank. In responding to the problem statement to implement an optimal CBDC design and technology, we have demonstrated the CBDC manager being used by central banks to securely mint, distribute, redeem, and destroy currency issuance recorded and accessible on the Ripple CBDC ledger. The processing through the CBDC manager is configurable and flexible to support existing central bank governance and operational structures, however, promotes the unique benefits of the shared immutable ledger, including native multi-sig transaction functionality, allowing on-chain custom authorization structures, cryptographic auditability, and enabling the central bank to maintain full control without compromising end-user anonymity. Ripple has further responded to the first optional problem statement, leveraging CBDC programmability features for new innovative services through demonstrating the ability to issue multiple CBDCs and possibly stablecoins on the same ledger, whether these are native to the ledger or not, and enabling instant settlement between the two assets using efficient decentralized exchange markets and most efficient route pathfinding. Finally, Ripple has also responded to the second optional problem statement, enhancing audit, oversight, and supervision while protecting consumers' sensitive data and privacy through demonstrating onboarding processes that enhance quality, verifiability, and certainty in regulatory reporting without exposing any sensitive or consumer data beyond existing regulatory reporting processes. We further incorporated the use of a sovereign or self-sovereign identity system to enhance the ability of the central bank to verify KYC and onboarding procedures of participants on the platform, again, without exposing any additional data. We believe these demonstrations and supporting materials directly respond to these problem statements, and we look forward to discussing these topics further. We welcome the opportunity to address any questions you have, so thank you.
Right, thank you, Ripple team. And let's move to the next session, the Q&A session. The judges, any question? Please do raise your hands. Right, Miss Fortune.
Hi team, thanks for the submission. Really interesting to read. I think I read that your solution is on a permissionless blockchain, is on the ledger. And so I was just wondering, how that provides control for the central bank, and assuming it does, why that's better than having a permissioned version.
Brett, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, so we actually proposed multiple solutions, and there is the option of using the public permissionless XRP ledger, but Ripple's actually taken that technology and provided a private permission central bank digital currency ledger. And that's the solution that Ross and I work on. Thank you.
Right, thank you. And the next judge will be Ms. Kose.
Sorry, I think my question already got answered just now.
All right, okay. Let's move to Prof. Jinchuan.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is offline transaction. How can this be executed on this one? And also the other one is does Ripple have the capacity to handle real usage of a CBDC in this kind of network?
So I can provide some response on the offline transaction piece. So we've looked at offline transactions in a number of different scenarios. So I think that there's a particular focus and question around fully offline transactions, but we've developed and demonstrated capabilities where one or multiple parties within a multi-party transaction are offline, and how to securely and with certainty process those transactions. So as an example, where a payer is offline and the payee is offline, and being able to make secure payments without compromising any security or data in that case, or where a payee is offline, say a vending machine that's not connected necessarily to the internet, and a payer is connected online with a phone. And these work natively with our ledger, with wallet applications that we've worked with. We're progressing certainly in working with a number of partners across fully offline solutions, and typically those will involve secure enclave hardware that, a big part of the solution is how these can be manufactured and distributed efficiently to enable that. So we have demonstrated fully offline transaction capabilities across that, but I think scalability and reality is still questionable across this. To be honest, I think the offline transaction capability on our ledger will be very similar to many other cryptographic-based ledgers. In terms of real implementations, and how ready this is, we're working with a number of central banks and other institutions around the world in piloting this and rolling out production or real money pilots, and obviously a fair bit of that is looking at how that will scale to entire markets, and we feel that that's possible. There is still future enhancements that can make that easier and better, but we think this is very realistic for markets around the world, and we're working with many partners today and customers today on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next, we'll move to Ms. Pia Tayak.
Yes. No, thank you for the excellent presentation. Just a question on the ability to retrieve information through APIs that was discussed, where fintechs and developers could actually use this to, for further innovation. Could you demonstrate or explain one, use case that we could see this happen? And beyond the technology that makes it possible, could you identify maybe the regulatory enablers that need to be in place for this to be possible?
Brett, it might be best you speak to the first part of that question around the APIs.
Yeah, so the functionality of the web.
I apologize, our time is up. Thank you for the Ripple team and also the judges, finalists. In a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you. Bye-bye. And our next finalist, Bit Idemia. You may start your 3 minutes presentation.
Thank you. Bit and Idemia believe in the principle of creating opportunity and accessibility for all. Our CBDC solutions are revolutionizing economic systems and increasing financial inclusion while decreasing costs. Bit's digital currency management system enables a monetary authority like a central bank or even sometimes national banks to launch their CBDC with complete interoperability with the existing financial systems. We have live deployments in 12 countries across 3 continents. This is not theoretical. This is real. It's widely used by close to millions of people. Our in-era deployment in Nigeria is the second largest CBDC deployment in the world, only outside of China. Our clients ask us for an offline solution. To just give an example, in the Eastern Caribbean islands, people have limited connectivity in remote areas and face power outages due to hurricanes frequently. In Nigeria, 50% of the population don't have smartphones. They live in the rural areas and don't have bank accounts. In Ukraine, due to war, people are displaced with limited connectivity in remote areas, and government wants to pay relief payments to their citizens. Based on our experience, offline payments are necessary to enable financial inclusion and the universal access. Jerome?
Thank you, Baker. Yeah, offline payments are necessary, and this is why we came together with BIT to offer a layer 2, an offline layer that allows to bring CBDC to just everyone. It leverages a secure hardware to bring security with no compromise on convenience. Everyone cannot own a smartphone for cost reasons, obviously, but also people with disabilities. So we wanted to bring the solution to just everyone. Our solution works with a large variety of devices, cars, biometric cars, feature phone, wearables, and of course, also smartphones. In the presentation you saw, we show 4 use cases. Let me just focus quickly on one to show how easy it is to use our solution even in a remote area. Let's assume that Baker and I are in a village and we want to transact using cards, very easy to use cards. We show this kind of very simple, very low-cost terminal where I put my card and then Baker can tap his card to make a transaction. This is a very low cost, like less than $5 terminal. This is financial inclusion. We're happy to take any question you may have.
Right, thank you, Bit Idemia. The judges, it's the Q&A session. Any question? Right, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Bit, for your extensive submission. Given you're very active on a number of CBDC projects, what would you say is sort of your big lessons learned that you would pass on to future central banks in implementing a project, a live project?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many best practices. First, number one, I think when we start an engagement with the central bank, we generally look at what is the reason behind creating a CBDC in a particular country. And based on the need, and it is a multifactorial need, then we look at what is the best way to drive adoption. There are 3 things that we say that are very, very important for any central bankers to do. Number one, it is think about user adoption from the beginning. Sometimes it becomes a theoretical exercise of what central banks should do, but in the end, if people don't use it, it's not going to work. Okay, that's number one. And it's a lot harder than people think it is. And the second thing is do it in bits and pieces, incrementally. So don't try to boil the ocean from the get-go. Focus on the target consumers that you want to go after, and then make sure you have set of functionality that really resonates with them, and then make sure you iterate on it. And the third theme, I can't emphasize this enough, you need people with the right skills, and make sure you bring in a team to make this thing work, because there are a lot of different skills that are needed. Like marketing, people don't emphasize it enough. It's important to drive change in the country. So marketing is important beyond technical skills and beyond economic and policy skills. So having an A team that is dedicated, that really stays on the top to meet the goals is the most important.
Right. Thank you. And the next one we have Ms. Yota Nazar.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to the team for this very interesting use case. So I was wondering if while this is an offline CBDC, can the user actually link it back to his or her bank account? Do you link to the domestic interbank settlement system?
Maybe I can take this one. Thanks for your question. I'm glad to see the OECD. I was attending your policy forum this morning. So yes, this is directly linked. In fact, it's up to the choice of the central bank. So it can be linked to first, the offline account is linked to the online account. It's like a pocket of the online account. And then the online account itself can be linked to a bank account or not. It depends. When you want to provide financial inclusion, you can have independent CBDC systems without a link to a bank account.
And both can be at the same time, both optionalities?
Depending on the same system, yes. Depending on customers, some customers will be linked to a bank account, some will not. Again, this is about financial inclusion, but also visitors, like tourists visiting a country who don't have a bank account, may be able, with different tiers, different permissions, to access the CBDC.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
The next question from the chat box from the Miss Sandra Rowe. The question is, it makes sense you allow offline payments, but can you discuss how you shore up security vulnerabilities or possible issues with offline gaps bridging to online verification and records?
Lauren, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. Please.
Sure, sorry. So indeed, we provide a system which has not any single point of failure. And in order to decrease the risks, we provide some additional leverage that the bank can actually apply on the different offline wallets. So for example, we can provide some limitations applied on the number of transactions that would be accepted by the offline wallets. We can limit also the number of transactions that would come from the offline wallet as well. So we made sure that any anti-replay attacks would be detected by all the security countermeasures that we have in the smart contract, in the ledger, and also...
Right. I apologize. Time is up. Thank you, Bit Itemia, and thank you for the judges and finalists. In a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you. Bye-bye. For the judges, and I present you our next finalist, Umoja Labs. 3 minutes presentation starts now.
Hi, everyone. We're grateful to be here. Here we present you our solution, Umoja Money API. I can show you guys my screen. Basically, Umoja Money API is a tool we have created to do on-ramp and off-ramp for our customers. We use blockchain technology underneath to provide the transparency and immutability. In our solution, we have integrated with different service providers from bank accounts, crypto networks, mobile money, and ATM solutions like ATMs. So in our API collections, you can see we have two types of APIs. One is to allow our user to create users, and another part of our API would allow user to create different kind of transactions, like doing a P2P transactions between user wallet and the users have created in our platform. And of course, we allow our user to do on-ramp and off-ramp API requests. We also offer our user to do a disbursement. Disbursements is a back transfer, which our customer can send transfer transactions to multiple users in one single transactions. Beside that, we also have created this dashboard for our API users. In this dashboard, our user can configure the webhook endpoint along with the webhook access key, so they could receive the update of those transactions asynchronously. They can also check the usage, like the monthly costs they have spent in our platform. So Umoja Money API is created for developers who want to build financial tools for their customers. So
Right, thank you, Umoja Labs. And let's move to the Q&A session. The judges.
If I may, just to finish off, the Umoja Money API is also used to power all of our products, which include a mass payouts dashboard, digital wallets, and point of sale. And the idea is that we're using a single blockchain to bind traditional payment networks like bank accounts with semi-traditional or informal payment networks like cash in, cash out, or mobile money and across emerging markets. And by binding them to a single blockchain, we're making them interoperable with one another and accessible to informal markets by connecting global capital to informal markets.
Right. Thank you. The judges. All right. Ms. Kose, please.
Thank you very much. And thank you also to the team. I was wondering what specific features or changes would you need to make to your current platform to make it really work for a CBDC? Like, I mean, it's currently used, if I'm right, for stable coins and other crypto. So what in your view are specific CBDC related issues and things that need to be that actually require some tailoring of the current platform that you use? Or are you saying like it doesn't matter? Can be used anyway?
So actually the platform itself, so Kishan spoke a little bit about the API, which we also sell and partner with other fintech developers to use it, but we also have our own platform as well, which is actually perfect for CBDC issuance. So we have a mass payouts dashboard that makes it really easy to enroll beneficiaries by uploading a CSV file, and they can access digital wallets that work on any device. So that could be from USSD devices or smartphones with digital wallets that integrate into WhatsApp. And if you don't have a phone at all, you could also receive a spending card. And you can actually, and a central bank could use the mass payouts platform to distribute CBDC to end users, regardless of how vulnerable or technologically, unskilled they may be, because they can use something as simple as a spending card and actually have them receive those funds on their account instantaneously and very affordably. And they can spend those funds with merchants who use our point of sale app. And then the merchants can cash out the stable coins or the CBDC into local currency. So the platform as is already works as a CBDC platform. And right now, NGOs actually use the platform to distribute cash transfers, both conditional and unconditional, and as well as lending to microloans to low-income beneficiaries in the hardest to reach places in the world.
Right. Thank you. And the next judge will be Ms. Piatayak.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Just one question. What would you consider your biggest value add or improvement from existing instruments and platforms that are already efficiently distributing mass payments, for example, since that was one key use case that you highlighted?
Yeah, so it's the transparency that's behind the dashboard. Because we're using blockchain technology, we're capturing data automatically and transparently. And because we have all that data about taking, and these are, again, like the hardest to reach economies in the world that were previously invisible, no insight whatsoever into how money is flowing through these economies. Well, now we're actually taking a picture of those economies. And when we take a picture of those economies, when we're capturing that data, what that allows the NGOs we work with to do, or the development banks or the central banks to do, is by recording all of these transactions and being able to see how money is spent in terms of at the actual category level, like is it being spent on food, housing, education. That allows you as the NGO or the central bank or the development agency to use that data to make informed and evidence-based decisions on how to channel appropriate policy and investment into underserved areas. I think that's the biggest strength. It's just a real data decision-making tool.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much for the Umoja Labs. If you have another information or if you want to give your closing statement, you still have 20 seconds.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm happy for anybody to reach out to answer. I know we only have 20 seconds to reach out for additional questions at sawyer@umoja.money or visit our website and be able to submit a form there. But we are actively exploring CBDC use cases with several central banks, and we'd love to talk.
All right. Thank you, Umoja Lab, and also thank you for the judges. And finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for staying with us, the judges. And here it is, our last, but definitely not least. Please welcome Axtolabs. Greetings to the team. You may begin the presentation for 3 minutes.
We would love to show you the video that summarizes our solutions. So we have developed a comprehensive payment platform which provides capability for offline transactions and universal access. We use biometric smart cards and capsules which enable users with or without mobile devices and connectivity to be able to transact with each other over Bluetooth or NFC. The system uses a distributed ledger backend, which is permissioned and allows open loop transactions between financial institution wallets issued to consumers or merchants. The wallets include biometric sensors, secure displays, NFC, capacitive touch, and they are low-cost merchant point-of-sale devices as well as consumer wallets. The wearable capsules allow the users to carry their authentication credentials when they receive them during onboarding and to be able to transact with mobile devices or with our cards. We also enable a plastic QR code method.
Right. Thank you. The time is up. Yep. The time is up. I will give the time for the judges to give a question from. Right. The first one from anyone? All right. Miss Fortune.
Thanks very much for the solution. I particularly liked the emphasis you placed on not relying just on technology on the offline issues, but also the incentives. But I was wondering, the card looks quite complicated, and I wondered whether it was genuinely more usable than a smartphone for users who don't have smartphones.
Yeah, so the experience for the user, it's an author audience experience. So the user basically turns on their card, presses their fingerprint, they have a QR code that's scanned, and what they see on their screen is what we see on point of sale devices to approve a payment. So the complexity is more, if the card is used as a POS device, is on the side of the merchant who is creating the payment request. But you're absolutely right. This has to be extremely simple tap and approve experience for the users.
Right. Thank you. The next one from Ms. Kose.
Thank you very much, and also thank you very much to the team. Actually, I had two questions, and the first question was really related to the previous one. When I saw it, I also had the feeling that there's a lot of steps and a lot of clicks to make. So I was wondering, for a user, like, what would be the incentive to move away then from cash, which is really about a few seconds, to this solution? But on top of that, I also wanted to know a little bit more about the receipt of cross-border payments, which you mentioned in the documentation very shortly. Can you say a few words on that too?
Sure. So the issue here is, again, the experience, if you watch our videos, you will see that the first experience shows a very simple experience for the payer. It's no different than a credit card payment or a QR code payment. The complexity, again, is on the merchant side. But the incentives are, first of all, this is secure. When you keep your cash on here, it's like a bank. We even do recovery. If you lose your balance that's on the card, including your offline balance, we can recover that based on looking at the amounts that you had loaded and you had spent. Ultimately, capturing credit risk data to enable lending fundamentally depends on digital payments. So a lot of the banks that we're working with, including Central Reserve Bank of India, National Payment Corporation, and many commercial banks, are essentially looking at getting credit risk information from merchants and others. In terms of cross-border payments, one of the biggest problems is the termination point of cross-border payments. There's a lot of emphasis going on the cross-border legs with CBDCs, but the termination requires 80% of the people who receive money are not advanced digital money users. Therefore, they require access to physical networks such as those of Western Union or MoneyGram. And this is one of the reasons the prices aren't going down. What we can do with our cards is solve the compliance problem where we capture the identity of the users. Therefore, almost any merchant till or a mobile money agent can become a compliant way for users to receive that termination.
Right. Thank you. Any other question from the judges, or we'll give the remaining time to the Exo Labs to give your closing statement?
Absolutely. So we believe that to replicate cash, it requires the ability to do transactions for free, to be able to do the transactions without any connectivity. If you're standing in an area with no connectivity, to be able to do that. And we feel that micro merchants and consumers need to be enabled. And although we make use of mobile devices, we believe that secure Bluetooth transactions are the way to achieve this sort of capability out in the field. Even though we support NFC payments and mobile wallets, one of the biggest innovations we've seen that will allow financial inclusion is to allow users to hold low-cost devices where they can load value and transact with each other without needing a high-powered reader or a mobile device on either side of this. So we feel that's one of the fundamental ways to enable secure offline payments.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Our time is up. Thank you, Extra Labs, and thank you for all the judges. Finalists, in a few moments, you will be assigned to exit the judging room. Thank you very much, and have a great day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. 21 finalists judging session of the G20 Techsprint 2022 have completed. We hope it was an impressive, insightful, and informative session. We would like also to remind you that the deadline of scores submission will still open until tomorrow, so that you can go back after hearing today's responses from the finalists to revise your scores if needed. The winners will be announced on the October 12th, 2022 at the closing ceremony of the G20 Techsprint 2022. On behalf of Bank Indonesia, BIS Innovation Hub, and all the committee of the G20 Techsprint 2022, I'm Wahyu Iwoho signing off. Thank you very much. Goodbye.